Thank you very much for tuning in. As always, I apologize for the background. So the saving grace of this whole thing is the philosophy. The philosophy here. So, what is the whole point about this philosophy thing? It makes you think about the deeper questions. Okay, so we're thinking about legal, questions and all this stuff. How can the Canadian system not indict such, massive such a massive crime, right? How can you not indict? And okay, these are questions that can be easily answered by truth, facts, law, and evidence. Okay, but let's go a little bit like a bird's eye view, like an eagle, right? An eagle, he's flying pretty high. Let's think a little bit about the whole of civilization, the whole of human civilization, and our philosophy and all this stuff. I know, philosophy is a little bit touchy subject, but it really does help at a time like this, right, where we can actually not be so tormented, because it really does. The facts of this case really torment you so much, especially me, because I'm like literally a very very I share a very very close bond. My father died, but it was a very very close relation to my father, right? So my father died. Maybe that's why he died, because there was such a great sin in the family that was going to, maybe he was like a sacrificial lamb or something. I really don't know, but he died at a very young age of 26, and I was fatherless all my life. So my terrible terrible scars coming into my heart and all this stuff. No, I'm fatherless. It sucks. Yeah. And every year, for some reason, every year I start crying and everything. I have to cry in my wife's arms. It never goes away. And if you ever lost a father, yeah, I certainly do. Yeah, not only sympathize but empathize. I certainly know the feeling. And if you've ever lost a child, I certainly empathize. So same as my grandfather. My grandfather lost his father, and then he lost my dad, which was his son. So I'm a little bit like him. But see, the thing is about my grandfather, and I was going to make a separate video about this, but I'll just talk about it briefly because it's not so important. How would he feel if he truly understand the if he would truly understand the depth and the magnitude of the facts of the case, which I don't think he does, and I don't think he ever will. He's old, man. He's an old guy. He's my grandfather, right? He's a good guy, man. Don't get me wrong, but he's very, how should I say, old fashioned, kind of ignorant. To be honest. But I never was able to go to him for advice, and the advice that he was giving wasn't very useful at all. But he's a nice guy. Don't get me wrong. I hate to talk bad about that, my own, my ancestor or whatever. But man, the guy went to. He was indoctrinated by the Roman Catholic Church, right? So I mean, when you're that indoctrinated by the Roman Catholic Church, you're going to have some opinions that are, let me say, you're how should I say, you're I how should I say this? Your priorities are not 100% at the right place, right? So your interests are more. He was really heavily into like money and numbers and everything like that. It's all about money with him. It's money this and money that. As you can see, this is a three-story house. I mean, it's sort of at the background there, but the finishing is not complete. But when this house is going to be complete, it's going to be a very very valuable house, right? And it's going to last for 1,000 years. I don't have to worry about money. I mean, I'm not saying I'm a rich guy, but I'm certainly doing quite well with myself compared to the average population. So money is, I mean, yeah, he's really, really interested in money and all this stuff. Well, whatever. I mean, that's the thing of the past. I don't think people are that interested in just material things or whatever. But what did he spend his money on? And he spent his money on educating, putting Dr. Michel Dow through the education camp and all this stuff. So the pharmaceutical indoctrination and all that stuff, which does bring me to the another video that I was planning to make for a long time, which was, what is Dr. Dow actually thinking, right? What is she actually thinking? And it's not just something that we can infer, right? I think there's going to be lots and lots of detailed investigations about what is she actually, where is this information coming from. There's like some sort of a source from where she's forming her own flawed opinion. The opinions are flawed. I mean, they're certainly flawed. But where is this coming from, and what is she actually thinking? And that video is going to come up shortly. But so what I was thinking about philosophy. Let's go back to philosophy. I know I'm just rambling on, but let's go back to philosophy here for a minute, which is the topic of today's video. Man, philosophy really did save my life. To be honest, I was really tormented. I was tormented by the facts of the case. I mean, the facts of the case are gruesome. I cannot think of any other crime that is more gruesome than literally killing a whole bunch of babies and leaving a whole bunch of people without any grandchildren. Like a bunch, like a large amount of people without any grandchildren at all. And I get it. She's contributory negligent to actually physically brainwashing these people, but she's very very close to not 100% solely culpable for actually the death, right? There is a very, very like 92% is square on her shoulders, right? 92%. But I do recognize the fact that the pharmacist, the pharmaceutical companies, the politicians that let any old nonsense like this through the door. What? 92% is my educated guess that she is 100% guilty, like culpable. I said 100% just as a figure of speech, but what I'm saying is 92% contributory. If we'd had to analyze to what degree of what percentage of culpability that she would be responsible for, it would be something that would look like 92%, right? And then I'm saying certainly. That's what I meant by saying 100%. I mean, certainly, yeah. Okay, so 92%. She's contributory negligent for sure. Like there's no there's her and very very noteworthy to say that she is not 92% culpable. Her actions are 100% mens rea, like the mens rea, right, which is the guilty mind, is 100%. The actus reus, which is her signature on the prescription pad, that's 100%, right? So what I'm saying is 92% is the actual. So let's say, for example, you have to quantify the crime, right, and who is responsible for the crime. Is this person is contributory negligent. This person is like, so. For example, the pharmacist, right? So the pharmacist, right? You are literally giving a death drug to that woman, and she's giving you money. Of course, you're contributorily negligent. And when I think about that, that number kind of shoots up, past the 4 or 5% that I initially gave it. It's just really bad. And then the politician, right? The politician then accepted a bribe. Of course, they accepted a bribe. Of course, I mean that it's very very easy to see that a poison tree doesn't produce poison fruit. So the lawmakers don't just all of a sudden make a law that's in favor of the pharmaceutical industry. And of course, the pharmaceutical industry, I mean, they're the ones actually distributing, producing and distributing these kinds of drugs, right? Drugs, right? Drugs. What am I saying? It's not even a drug. What is it? What is it? Huh? But anyway, enough of that. Let's get back to philosophy. And I do apologize for the back and forth here. We didn't even touch philosophy, the whole point of this video. All right, so let's go back to philosophy and nature. Okay, let's try to get this here. Stick to philosophy. And this is really the greatest part that I discovered, right? What is nature, right? Nature is a lion tearing the guts out of a gazelle. There's blood everywhere, and then the lion over there, he's very, very hungry, but he's fighting his lion because the lion doesn't care about anybody. He doesn't care about the gazelle that he just killed. He doesn't care about his friend over there. They're not even friends. It's just a co-lion, right? A colleague, whatever you want to call him, right? He doesn't even care about his own children. Right? The lion wants his belly, right? He wants to eat that gazelle, and he's gonna eat and eat and eat until he's full, right? It's true, huh? Yeah. And anyway, so the baby lion, right, is Daddy, I'm hungry. I don't care. I'm gonna eat everything. And sometimes the baby lions don't have enough food, right? Because the daddy lions are eating all that kind of stuff, right? So anyway, that's the animal kingdom, right? That's nature. So who am I to say, hey man, that lion doing that's wrong. He shouldn't have killed that gazelle to eat, right? That's wrong. That's against nature. Certainly is not, right? This is nature. So you know what I'm going to say, right? Are these birth control pills? Is that it sucks because I mean she could have got a better job, like a real doctor or whatever. But anyway, that's her job. She wants to feed her own belly, right? Are these birth control pills nature, right? and strictly we're out of legal, we're out of ethics and all this stuff. We're purely philosophical, philosophers here. Yeah, we are philosophers at this point. Yeah, amateur philosophers, because I mean the seriousness of the subject matter dictates that we have to look at this in some sort of other context, right? Philosophy will give you a little bit of a break from the the tragic laws, the tragic human laws that we've experienced, right? This is a tangible loss, right? We certainly did. It could have been much better if this nonsense wouldn't have happened. So what I'm trying to say is philosophy. Okay, philosophy. Let's say, for example, this is actually nature. Let's say, for example, Chernobyl, all these chemicals, radioactive particles coming out and all this stuff. Is that not nature, right? It's a man-made chemical. Yeah, but isn't that nature, right? To say that the lion ripping the guts out of the gazelle is nature, but then saying that a radioactive particle and all this stuff accident, for example, like Fukushima or Chernobyl or something like that, right? It would be like not natural, right? Who are we to say that, right? Isn't humanity natural 100%? Is there such a thing as unnatural? Is there such what is this word? Unnatural. Is this even a word? Right? Is this even well? It's a word, but is it even quantifiable? How can we quantify something that is unnatural? Right? Don't get me started on legal and logic and all this stuff. Math. I don't care about that. Philosophy, right? Is there such a thing as unnatural in the course of a human civilization, right? In the however many thousands of years, right, that we've been here on the earth, right? What is natural and what is this unnatural word, right? What does this even mean, right? Can we take solace, right? Can we console ourselves in the fact that this is going to happen anyway because it's natural, like the gazelle, right? I feel bad for the gazelle, but the lion was hungry, so it's like, and then it comes down to let's say, for example, like, eating dog meat, right? Eating dog meat. Oh, the dog, there's like 50% of the world that eats. I don't eat a dog. I never eat a dog. But anyway, so for example, where I am here, I'm in a different country. I don't live in Clare, Nova Scotia anymore because I was kicked out of the place because I mean this nonsense here. My baby's dead, right? My child is dying, and every time I were to have a prospect, a reasonable prospect of having another child, I was at risk of my child dying. What kind of nonsense is? So I don't live in Nova Scotia anymore. So, but I'm in a different part of the world here. I'm in a homeowner here, and it's a concrete house this way. It's a green slime mess over in the background here. But what I'm trying to say is, what about dog meat? Huh? Let's say, for example, dog meat. Because dogs are my best friend. I had a wonderful dog. He's a great dog. No, a baby is more important. And it's certainly more important. So let's say, for example, people eat dogs. So do you feel bad? I don't know. My belly's hungry, right? It's all about my belly is hungry, right? If I had to, literally eat a dog, I don't know. I probably, if my belly was hungry, I'd probably, chop the dog's head off and cook him up on a barbecue. I don't know. Maybe, probably not though. But plenty of food everywhere. But what I'm trying to say here is, okay, the lion eating the gazelle, ripping the guts out of us. Okay, I feel so bad for the thing. Is that not nature, right? Right? Is that not nature, right? It certainly is, right? So that's the point I'm trying to make about nature, right? So is Dr. Dow pushing these pharmaceutical pills, right? Isn't that nature, right? Isn't that the way it was supposed to be, right? The way it was supposed to be, and all this came around by the theory of IVF, right? So the IVF, so the whole point about that, I'll explain that in another video. I'll explain that in the other video about the fertilization of the ovum and all this stuff. I'll make another video about that. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.